Prosperity begins within. I'm not going to go as fast as what I normally do when I do these visions of what love is for all of us. That's where we go with these soul session videos. Many are saying, I want my wisdom handed to me in the way it was granted to me when I was a child, so I feel safe, secure, always allowing for the love of all to come through. And that's where Brenda is, whether or not you vibrate in the beauty of who she is or not, whether or not you agree with her vision or not. It's a beautiful vision of contentment that she vibrates in most often. And yet, within the vision of I love who I am, I create from that place of I'm content where I'm at until I'm no longer able to be that. And then I decide for myself, I need to move myself forward just a little bit at a time to make those adjustments that are going to get me to a place of freedom from who I am in my mind sometimes. Others will understand this nature and say, we are what we create. And in vision questing, when we allow our souls to come together, we want us as all to be who we are in each and every moment honored. And that's what many are saying. I am honored for who I am, for joining us in this vision of love for everybody, right? It doesn't mean that we are saying that all are adored by their actions of devastation, withdrawal from the norm, is where many of us go who listen to souls like mine. I'm not normal in the minds of many, is where some go. Aspects of who I am would say I'm very much typical of your average Joe, right? I don't identify as a female, is where one soul of inspiration landed in my lap, who was presiding over the vision of I am female in presentation, but I am more male in soul. And this is why so many souls are starting to get a little bit confused, okay? What we're saying is that many are prospering in those ideas of I fit in where those who have the money, perhaps, right? Once you go to this idea of I've got to make a buck, okay, that's a difference between wealth generation and prosperity. They are interlinked between the visions of most people's minds. I'm abundant in my wisdom is where Brenda is. I grant you that as well. Everyone has their own internal compass that they guide themselves by. And if someone is saying prosperity leads to generations of those who prosper, and there are those who are saying there's not enough for all of us, and yet we deny those who want more visions for who they are to come across the screen. I'm not here to serve up the wisdom of those just on TikTok, perhaps. This is a different kind of audience that I speak to, where our souls are combining and saying we all do indeed matter. Now, how many would say that those who portray themselves of love but have issues with certain aspects of books, perhaps, which is where I'm going with my own soul? And there are going to be many who say that's not my cup of tea. Am I going to take offense to it? Not even close. It's just a vibrational shift that many are undergoing at this moment. This idea that I have to have everything handed to me in my lap, right? This is her soul. I will give you what you need when you need it. Okay? It's not meant to be a wisdom-seeking session, but more of an understanding of where am I in my mindset? Am I surrounding myself with people who align with my own vision, Or am I caretaking their hearts and their souls in some other aspect of who I am, which has always been more of the nature of I'm going to caretake your vision. I understand your vision. I love your vision for you. What I don't do is I don't assume that it's going to be the best one for myself. How about that for honesty? Do you understand the difference? Many of us have this vision of unity as if we all need to be the same in order to be vibrating in the beauty of who we are. We are vibrating in the beauty of all, whether or not we want to acknowledge it as such or not. It doesn't mean that it's enjoyable. So we have to honor those who are saying this idea that prosperity begins within is true. Am I granted that vision? Others will say, I wasn't granted that from the beginning. So therefore, I have 2 strikes against me. It's 1 strike if you were given a loyalist kind of vision. There are people who are loyal to their faith vision and say that prosperity is about serving others for free, perhaps. That's where they gain their wisdom. How many souls never flourished on this plane because they always gave away everything? And that's a beautiful and honorable vision. And yet many are now saying, as souls, especially in the younger generations, we don't have the same prospects coming to us. We don't have the same issues with religious institutions telling us we need to serve them, or their family trees that ran the places in which those royal subjects honored. You see, those were those who were honoring those books in many ways as they were told. This was the way to heaven. And what Brenda is stating is very much of honor of those visions, saying it served its place, right? It was the place and time in which it vibrates. So if those of you that are gaining sources of wisdom from left and right, know that where we are in our own hearts also matters. The mind is what but one creative ability Brenda serves from. She has her soul on board. That means she doesn't have to vibrate where you are. That's the nature of what she does. I caretake my own heart, for the most part, is what some would say. Only in the vision of, I didn't see her acting like I did, or I didn't see her thinking like I did. We don't deny our souls a beauty of expression. And that's where Brenda says, I understand you need to have a little fit about who I am. This is where some people go with her. They don't want to know what I know. I have visions of prosperity for all of us. I see the pain points in many. And when people say, what does that mean? It means if you're labeling others as less than for a reason that is anything other than love, right? It was of love for those who needed it and reside in it and cherish it and try to become more of who they think they need to be in it, versus the beautiful natural gifts and abilities that we all have at our disposal once we tap into the nature of who we are from a soul level. Now others are saying, I'm God, I'm goddess, I'm soul, I'm spirit. It's all, higher wisdom, source. Brenda's of source vision. That means she travels outside of the vision of one God vision. She's not there to do that vision because so many have created from the vision of we have many gods, or none, or other types of soul visions that are not being admired as much of late. Okay? And it doesn't mean she's saying that there's anything that's less than. She's just saying it's how people portray their own vision, and she sees where they vibrate. If they're in the vision of I'm less than, then they may rise out of it and be very content and prosperous and happy and joyful and not worried about the next veil of illusion that we uncover in ourselves. We're operating under veils of illusion. And so when souls come through and say, I know who you are on a soul level, as Brenda gets told, she says, I honor that vision, but I still get to live my life here in peace, prosperity, health, and love. How about that for 2 cents worth of wisdom, right? How many people know I want more of that? Right? My health is being adjusted by my soul. I have medical intuition on the line. My soul knows how to tell me where people are hurting or having issues in their body. I can't state that on my policy when I serve the public from a legal standpoint, but it's true. My own soul caretakes my heart, my soul, and my value system very carefully, knowing that I will adjust it in essence for those that needed to be acknowledged as strong in their minds. We have our own source of vision that is very strong. Others are saying, if something happens to you, it's your own fault. It's more than that. It's more than the vision of I'm my own soul's vision, but that is very much where we go when we align with our highest source of vision, which in essence doesn't mean it is anything to be labeled as higher than somebody else's. It's not a competition. We collaborate with ourselves. That's where Brenda goes. I want to collaborate with people, not compete with people. I've had to discard certain sources of vision because in essence it felt like a competition rather than let's all create beauty with each other. But how many people are saying it has to be the way that I want it or that I was told to that it was supposed to be in order for it to work? And that's where people start to align with others so they can create from that place of wisdom within each source of wisdom. Do you understand? So when I create from a place of there's plenty here, we have no scarcity in our minds, I was in the vision of lack in many ways when I soon discovered that I was still traversing the realm of life with another soul from another plane. And I was like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing from that soul because he's still like, oh, it's a loving vision. And so this is why we sometimes have to disconnect from those of our past who say, I'm still there honoring you for who you are. And you could say, great, thank you so much. I honor our time together. Please set me free so you can be free and I can be free to create on this plane. This is what many are seeing. Brenda tried to attach herself to someone else and she said, now I realize what was happening. On one hand, I was creating from a place of, I love who I am. I'm prosperous in my wisdom. Okay, that's where she rides. Now, many are thinking prosperity is more about wealth generation. That's something that her soul is attracting to her already. Okay, because in essence, when people decide, I love who I am, I break free from those who don't. Right? That's where we are in this society. We tend to say, I love you, I have to set you free. Brenda's had to do that. Her soul guided her to do that with 2 or 3 people. And it was because of what was being created on a soul level. And she herself knew there's something not right in this vision. And that's why she said, I love you for who you are. You yourself can set yourself free from who I am. That's what people do. They set themselves free from the influx of information, most often telling them that there's something wrong with this universal vision of love. It can be a very high vision. And somehow others are saying, if you're up there, then you're not allowed wealth. That's a conditioned mindset that was brought through for Brenda. I don't have that vision. Are you kidding me? My soul's like, we're going high. And we're going to take advantage of the nature of who I am to sit there and say, hey, I love you for who you are too, but I'm not going to do your work for nothing. These are those souls. If you want to hear from your soul, that's a very difficult process to go through. It's one thing to align with your soul, which is the honest attainment of a lot of soul's visions, is please just lift yourselves up to your own soul's visions of beauty and fame. Right? That's where some are when they go through that process and they say, I made it. I love who I am. I want everyone to feel the same way. What are you doing that's not allowing you to feel beautiful for who you are? And if it's because you're telling others that they aren't in their ways, then that's part of it. And I've had my moments of it. because it's very difficult sometimes to be in the soul of an angel on one hand and the devil on the other, right? I don't vibrate in the beauty of duality. I don't look at the world as black and white, empty and full, good, bad. I know there's more going on. And so I don't reinforce the nature of anything other than the vision that there are indeed archangel visions that I have worked with. One in particular because of a beautiful program that I worked with. And I'm going to actually tell you what that program was. It was called Gene Keys. But most will not align with that. It's not needed to align with who you are. You are beautiful for who you are in every moment. That is true. That is honored. But what others are saying is, I'm not going to sit back and watch people disparage my vision just because they didn't look into the future. Brenda knows the future and it's coming. That's why she doesn't allow for her soul to traverse the realms of religious institutions, because she knows where that's headed. This is the honesty of it. It's not pleasant for some people, but many are already in the vision that their souls are beautiful and they're receiving loving words of wisdom within those souls' wisdom. Okay, it's those that are trying to force others to be less than due to those institutions, or those that said we rise above others because we grant that vision to ourselves, right? This is that same thing as spiritual hierarchy that many are vibrating in. We are vibrating in whatever frequency we're vibrating in. And if we vibrate in the beauty of our own soul, then we don't have to look back and tell people there's something wrong with them. What we do, though, is we honor those that are still trying to tell us there is something wrong with who we are. And Brenda will say, if I were you, I would feel the same way. That's all you're going to get. Okay? If I were you, I'd be thinking, feeling, doing the exact same thing that you're doing. But since I am my own soul, vibrating in the beauty of who I am, I get the freedom and luxury to create from a place of a plenty that doesn't have to worry about those other visions coming down upon my soul, telling me there's something wrong with who I am. It's very rare that I get that, because I don't really confront those souls very much. It's mostly out of desperation that I hear from certain souls, because if they are afraid that I'm somehow going to vibrate too far away from who they are as soul, that somehow they're going to lose out on some of the dexterity that I offer, which is for those who offer their services for free. And I'll say, by all means, go for it. Okay? I offer services for free for those who cannot afford to pay me at some point. So at some point, it's going to get very expensive to work with me for the most part. I will offer different levels of program. But for those who are on limited incomes or whatnot, their souls know how to come through and tell me they can afford this much. I get told by my own soul what my programs are going to cost, what my book is going to cost. Okay, I'm working within my own soul vision of love for who I am. I give that to you. I would if I could. I'm not going to do that for free, because it takes time away from my own development of my own gifts and abilities, where my soul says she flies so high in her mind, because in essence I've experienced so many beautiful vibrations, not just with myself but with other people, that I don't want to waste my time trying to convince others that there's something wrong with who they are or different. But there are indeed differences in very many souls who are in that idea that I don't beat within my own soul vision. I did something that a lot of souls would not feel comfortable doing, because I'm brave. I have no fear of the unknown. I have my moments of it, but in general, the unknown isn't scary to me. I have a lot of tools that I carry in my, quote, backpack of love that helps guide me through whatever realms of love I operate in. And that's the nature, because I've operated there my whole life. Okay, we all are. We just don't necessarily acknowledge it as such. There are other vibrations that people are putting on others that are not pleasant. Brenda just lets them be. She doesn't vibrate in them. She doesn't mess with them. She knows that people have a choice to believe whatever they want to believe. If we experience something, we have to go in and ask ourselves, why did I set myself up with that vision? That's the nature of her soul, which is I am responsible for my own creation. My soul comes to me with visions of what I'm creating with others around me. But when I make choices, I get to hear about what those decisions are going to be making, like those decisions, what those decisions make for me, because I create with the idea that my soul is on board and has a beautiful vision for me. I follow the leader is where some people go. Others are leading others into those death realms. That's what many are showing Brenda. They think that this is about death. She went through the rebirthing process. And so it doesn't feel wise for many. Okay? It was a spiritual enlightenment vision, awakening, and those who understand that would know you cannot remotely identify it in some souls. They would be more, I'm just beautiful in who I am. Others are saying it was a death. It's the nature of what certain souls would claim their ego is. Okay? So Brenda's tapped into the nature of who she is as soul. She hears from her soul all the time. It is not a mental illness, because she's able to bring through the wisdom, guidance, and future that others are wishing that they could have. But in her vision of wisdom, she says, I would not go about it the way that I did, because I did go through some pain points myself. But I honor those who understand now. Okay, we don't completely leave our ego. Okay, when I'm doing this, I'm still free and clear of those who are trying to put their own vision in. Okay, so I'm operating on the vision of a collective unit of energy as well. Okay, when I hit the pain point projections that many don't like, it's the nature of what she shows us sometimes, in the idea that I'm not feeling the discussions about prosperity. It's more like it's a state of being. Any word that you utilize that is to lift yourself up, ask yourself if you vibrate in it. Do I look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm just beautiful as I am? That's where that one starts with Brenda. I get to be beautiful for who I am no matter what. My soul lifts me up, tells me I'm honored from various sources of wisdom, caresses my heart with the love energy that I'm sending out to others. This is how I know I'm in my heart and not in my mind. We open up various chakras, is what some souls would say. See, this is where she was in this idea of, I don't delve deep into the Eastern philosophical or religious traditions. I've had a broad array of experiences with various people and sources. But once I went to my own soul's vision of love, I won't go back. I won't go back and say, it's beautiful, right? Of course I can go back and say it's beautiful. If my soul told me to go to a certain book and look up something, I would. And I do. And it's not what you think it is. Usually it is a condition of vibration that I'm operating in without knowing it. And so I have tools of wisdom at my disposal that let me know where I'm at and how I can potentially lift myself up. But most often, it's just telling me that's where I already am. You see, that's where Brenda guides us to that idea of prosperity is a state of being. It does begin within, but if you can vibrate in the beauty of I'm prosperous always, I look at my life and I say, look at everything that I've got, right? It's not about the nature of things. It's about who I am. Am I prosperous in my vision? Do I have beautiful friends and family members? It depends on what you look at as your own vision. My house is mastery in form, right? So I was able to create a lot of this stuff because I placed the vision out there and said, this is what I want. I want that. Now it comes to me. That's my desire, right? But I've been able to do the work that allows me to create from that place of what I want, I get. That's where many are. That's those manifesting manifestos, okay? It's a different way of being, okay? So Brenda doesn't just get everything she wants. It's either here or in another plane. And so that's why she vibrates with soulmates from different planes as well, okay? That can be a tricky one to navigate for those who have been with more than one person. And we're going to be honest about that. So some people are prosperous in their, personhood, right? That's the nature of the state of being. Brenda is a state of being. She vibrates in the beauty of who she is in every moment. She doesn't feel lonely. She doesn't feel confused. She just offers up wisdom. And that's what happens. When someone asks her a question, she says, let me tap in. Let me see what you've got going on. And your soul will come through with the vision. I'm not telling you from my point of view. I'm telling you from yours. And that means it can get difficult sometimes to make sure that you are high enough that you bring through the highest level of wisdom for them. And others have been told what that is for them. So if they don't hear from, say, Jesus as he was, because the soul is not the same. But if they want to hear from Jesus as he was, in their vision, it would still be a beautiful vision of love for all of us. It just wouldn't resonate with so many who say, I think I need another soulmate. So many are trying to be the same person that they were when they were born, correct? I love who I am. That's what that message is. I love who I am. I don't deny myself anything. That's the prosperity prospect that people are creating with. I love who I am. I deserve whatever I want. How many people are telling you you don't? That's what people need to ask themselves. Are they telling me I don't deserve this, that, whatnot? Why might that be? Are they afraid that there's not enough to go around? Enough of what? My bounty is in my beauty. My bounty is in my friendships that I cherish and adore. My family, they have their own issues in some ways, but I love them for who they are. I choose whether or not I associate with people. It depends. If I want to have fun, I know where to go. If I want to do other visions, I do other visions. Where are you prosperous in your life? See, a lot of us don't take the time to look around us and see it for what it really is. Why am I seeing myself as less than another? Or why am I seeing myself less prosperous than another? It depends. If we can compare and contrast, there's nothing wrong with that. It can give us a goal to set. We have to have the vision before we can create it, is where many are. And so they set the vision and then they step back and say, come to me, my soul vision. How many are creating from that idea that their soul is on board? You know it. Brenda hums with her soul. It's a humming. She's energetically charged with her soul. It's not all the time, in essence, because we have different levels of soul vision that she can sometimes vibrate in and out of. But when she's in the vision of I'm giving guidance, you better believe she's feeling the energy. Okay. Now, with that, we want to say thank you for watching, because we want to keep these videos pretty short if we can. I used to do much longer videos, but people have a harder time listening to long videos. So I would say, with that, I want to honor all of you wherever you are. Say prosperity be with you. Be with us all. Take notice of where you're prosperous and build upon that feature. It's a vibrational state of being. Okay? And so that's why it's not necessarily something you have to think about all the time. It just happens. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching. Remember, stay curious, wise, and soulful. Have a wonderful day.